This is Craig Melvin of NBC and MSNBC. You may remember him from this video on my channel where he interviewed Dr. Jill Biden about the release of a children's book about her husband, Joey.
Dr. Jill Biden, aside from campaigning with her husband, she's also found some time to write a children's book about the presumptive Democratic nominee's life. It's called Joey. We're going to get to the book in just a moment. I'm not exactly sure how you found time to write a children's book about your husband.
Gee, Dr. Jill, how'd you ever find the time to write a 2,500-word book? Now, you might be thinking, wow, it really doesn't take that much to impress Craig Melvin, huh? But he's really just trying to hype all of this up because he's friends with Joe and Dr. Jill Biden.
When we come back down next time, I want to do the story on the fact that you guys have been married for more than 40 years, and you put up with him the way that you do. If people only knew.
It's true.
If people only knew, Dr. Biden.
So when it comes to NBC News conducting an objective and heavy-hitting interview with President Biden, Craig Melvin is not the right choice.
There's a question that millions of Americans have been wondering for a number of weeks now.
When is Kamala heading down to the border?
Major. The first dog.
Literally no one was asking about the first dog.
Is he back in the White House?
He's back, yeah. He is such a sweet, lovable dog.
Well,
he really is.
Except, of course, when he's biting Secret Service agents and members of the National Park Service.
And then there are these rumors that the first family was considering adopting a cat.
There are rumors that the first family was considering adopting a cat. Oh my God, is that true, Dr. Jill?
Oh, yes, and that is true.
Can you confirm that?
Can you confirm that? She just did, dummy.
Can you confirm that?
He's waiting in the wings. She is waiting in the wings.
And she's already misgendered the cat. Great job, doctor. So these morons who can't even control a dog around people are now insisting on getting a cat. Even Craig Melvin, who's clearly not a dog person, had to push back.
So let me get this straight. Major Biden, who's clearly had some trouble adjusting to life at the White House, now he's going to be forced to contend with a cat as well.
Well, that was part of his training. They took him into a shelter with cats.
The Secret Service.
Yeah, and he did fine.
Oh, good. Glad to see that the Secret Service is providing resources to train a problematic dog. What was the dog whisperer, busy or something?
Was this your idea, Mr. President?
No, but it's easy.
So, if NBC wants Craig Melvin to interview Biden with fun little puff piece questions about cats and dogs, that's totally fine. But interviewing Biden about policy and politics, well, that's another story.
In April alone, Mr. President, 170,000 people, migrants, apprehended at the border. It's a 20-year record. There are 22,000 unaccompanied children in our country right now. That's a record. That sounds to most folks like a crisis.
Well, look, it's way down now. We've now gotten control.
You hear that, guys? It's way down now. It's under control. Except that it's not. In March 2021, Customs and Border Protection encountered 172,000 migrants at the southern border. And as it turns out, preliminary stats for April 2021 showed that there were 172,000 border encounters. And there was no pushback from Craig Melvin. Of course, he's just gonna let Biden try and shift responsibility and blame the previous administration.
For example, they didn't plan for, which it comes every year, this flow, whether it's 22,000 or 10,000. They didn't have the beds that were available. They didn't plan for the overflow.
Except that it's not seasonal, Craig. That overflow is a direct result of Biden immediately changing the previous administration's border policy. And if Biden wanted to have more beds available, he should have waited until they had those beds in place before he changed everything. And Craig Melvin isn't the only one not pushing back. On May 4th, in a briefing room with over a dozen reporters, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was completely free to make the following statement.
After 4 years of an immigration system rooted in destructive and chaotic policies, President Biden is taking the challenge head on and is building a fair, orderly, and humane immigration system. That's our objective. After coming into office, our administration immediately jumped into action to address the influx of migrants at the border, something that began during and was exacerbated by the Trump administration.
That is a provable lie. Jen Psaki is a liar. the influx of migrants at the border did not occur until after Biden took office and rescinded Trump's border policy. And to be crystal clear, I will spell it out for you. From October to November 2020, border encounters increased by 0.2%. From November to December, there was a 2.6% increase. From December to January, the month Biden took office, a 5.97% increase. From January to February, after Biden was in office for more than a month, there was a 28.7% increase. And from February to March, there was a 70.5% increase. So while Joe Biden claims that the numbers are way down and the border is under control, at the same time, his press lackey is going to blame it all on Orange Man Bad, even if the numbers don't add up. Instead of the truth and transparency that the American people were promised, we get gaslighting, and it's all caught in 4K. So during his interview with Biden, Craig Melvin threw a softball regarding the $6 trillion in proposed spending.
Why tax and spend so much when the economy is still recovering as a result of the pandemic?
That's the reason why it's recovering, because we're investing. Look how rapidly it's recovered since we passed the last piece of legislation. And that legislation was $1.9 trillion.
However, the economic growth of the first quarter of 2021 has nothing to do with Biden or the so-called American Rescue Plan, because it literally just passed in mid-March, and you're not going to see the full impact of that bill for months. If anything, you'd have to give some credit to President Trump signing a $900 billion COVID relief bill back in December that included $600 stimulus checks. But ultimately, the economic growth has less to do with Trump or Biden, and much, much more to do with the crisis ending and the country reopening, but Biden's going to take credit anyway. But don't worry, when that inflation hits from all the needless spending, he'll find a way to blame Trump, guaranteed.
If we don't invest in this country, we're going to fall behind even further.
Not sure how you can be rapidly recovering and falling behind at the same time, but whatever.
CDC guidance this week about outdoor mask wearing. Yeah. A lot of folks excited that they can now shed these masks if they've been double vaccinated.
Double vaccinated.
Are you going to be one of these folks now? We no longer going to see the President of the United States outside with the mask on?
Sure. I mean, but what I'm going to do, though, because the likelihood of my being able to be outside and people not come up to me is not very, very high.
So what? Biden is fully vaccinated, so the chances of him contracting or spreading the virus are non-existent. In other words, Joe Biden doesn't have to wear a mask in most situations, if at all.
So it's like, look, you and I took our masks off when I came in, because look at the distance we are. But if we were, in fact, sitting there talking to one another close, I'd have my mask on, and I bet you'd have a mask, even though we've both been vaccinated.
But that's going against the CDC's guidelines that state if you've been fully vaccinated, you can gather indoors with fully vaccinated people without wearing a mask or staying 6 feet apart.
And so it's a small precaution to take that has a profound impact. It's a patriotic responsibility, for God's sake. It's making sure that your wife, your children, if in fact they haven't been vaccinated, making sure that they're not going to get sick.
Wearing this mask does not protect you from contracting the virus. And despite that fact, Joe Biden has falsely and repeatedly made this claim.
You don't wear this mask, you end up hurting someone or you get infected. You take it home to your child. You could take it home to your mother, your father, your husband, your wife.
Okay, fine, whatever. Biden's confused about masks and how science works. What else is new? But then, one of the most bizarre photos you've ever seen was released to the public, featuring Joe and Dr. Jill and former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind. Other than the fact that the wide-angle lens, combined with the largest aperture possible, makes Rosalind Carter look like Joe Biden's ventriloquist dummy, you may have noticed that they aren't 6 feet apart, and they aren't wearing masks. And that's weird, right?
But if we were, in fact, sitting there talking to one another close, I'd have my mask on, and I bet you'd have a mask, even though we've both been vaccinated.
Wait a minute, I thought it was a patriotic duty to wear a mask if you aren't 6 feet apart or something. And But seriously, it doesn't matter because everyone in this photo is vaccinated and the CDC states that it's okay. But when they went outside, they put their masks on because everything is stupid. Volume 3. And on that note, that's it for now. Be sure to like and subscribe and hope to see you next time. If there is next time.